Hello, hello. Here we are again, coming to you from Broadcast Team Alpha with the Paranormal World Show, where we are coming to you from 44 different platforms all around the world. So it depends on where you are. I should say good evening, good morning, good afternoon, or good noon, or whatever. You have a good day so far. I know it because you made it one. And yeah, I'm the Aage, and I'm the host here tonight. And I also want to let you know that we are transmitting on many, three different TV platforms, as well as a horde of social media. And we also are on the Conscious Awakening Network on Roku and a bunch of different places. So you can find us just about anywhere. And now, before I introduce the guest, then I want to let you know how you can connect with me and Nori. And just go to broadcastteamalpha.com and go into the contact feature there and send us an email, and we'll get the email and we'll send you an answer back and see what we can do for you. So I want to also mention that we have created a spiritual think tank. Nori and I started that back a little over 3 years ago, and we've done some incredible things. It seems like we are creating out of seemingly nothing sometimes. Things just show up that we ask for. And we meet on Sundays for a meditation and also a manifestation session that could involve manifestation of health issues, good health issues, and economics, abundance, or peace of mind, peace of our environment. It could be anything that we decide. And so far, a lot of the things that we have asked for is happening. So if you want to be part of that, send us an email to themastermindconnection@gmail.com. So just do that. And also the I was going to say yeah, I want to introduce the guest, and is she is known as Soma Arah, and I think I probably butchered that name, but I got close. Well, she agrees, so I'm good. And yeah, we tried to do this about a week ago, and it didn't work. But this time it's working. We're both here, and the technicalities and everything is out of the way. We're looking good so far. She is actually first. A lot of people like to surf the website of the guest while they're listening. So I'll give you the website is somaara.love. That is SOMAARAH.love. So have a ball over there. That's a lot of interesting stuff. So she is a galactic light worker, a Pleiadian channel of information on the ascension process that we are right in the middle of. We have been laying the foundation for it, and you're going to see some incredible things coming to pass this year. This is not next decade. This we're right in that spike of energy where it will happen. So she also empowers people to know who they are, because a lot of people think our meat suit that we're carrying around is the only thing there is, and not really. She's a psychic medium, and she brings Akashic record information to the people that ask her to help. So she's a Reiki master, and she's an author of two books. One of them is The Pleiadian Child, and also the other one is What's Really Going On? Well, that is a good question. And without any more from me on, welcome to the show, Soma.
Hello, Aage, and thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be able to connect in with you and talk about things. I would like to apologize to you and Nori Love and all your guests that turned up last week, and I wasn't able to make it.
Yeah,
My
things
apologies.
happen. Don't worry about that. It's all right. Now you are over in Ireland, right?
I am. I'm
Oh,
Irish descendant, mixed with some other things.
okay. Yeah, I never been to Ireland. I've flown over it, but I never been there. There, Ireland is one of those countries where they probably have the greenest grass in the world
Yeah.
because I say that's the way you look, and the pictures from over there are phenomenal. So you're in a good place. But when it comes to what you do, how in the world did all that start out for you?
Well, I have had continuous experiences my whole life, but it began in childhood, very much so, from a very young age. Um, so with the Pleiadians, it started at 8, but there's a whole section before that where things were occurring as well. But my earliest memory is when I was 8 and I left my body due to traumatic events. And I went up and out and connected to the Pleiadians. And I didn't realize who they were at the time. I was too young, and they didn't actually say. But they gave me a very short message, and then I came back into my body. And then I continued to receive downloads, transmissions, and channeled information from them. And I didn't realize it was them not until around 2011, 2012. So I have kind of a progressive story.
Mm.
I've had many spiritual situations, or not situations, but experiences with them. An interesting one was when I was 12 and I walked into the lounge and my mum was watching TV. And on the TV was the Sphinx. It was back in the 80s. I'm not sure what they were, what news they were sharing, but I was held in this vortex of energy, which has often happened as a safety mechanism with the Pleiadians, where they step in and they hold me in this vortex of energy. And I received a download about the Sphinx and the pyramids and Egypt. And when they work with me, that I get a stream of telepathic information. So I work. So when I'm channeling, I began when I started to do that in the early days, I would just be taking dictation. But they also work with me in a way where I get images. So it's two ways of communication at the same time. So I get images that sometimes contain, most of the time actually, contain more information than the telepathic communication, or just as much. And in this download, when I was 12, I was shown an image of the Sphinx. And I think it was the right paw as you look head on. I was shown steps going down, and I was shown a secret area or space, cavern, with important information in it. And I was shown that the Sphinx originally had a lion's head, which is common knowledge now amongst alternative people. So, but I had a lot of other stuff going on as well. So my mum emigrated to South Africa from Ireland, And then when we moved back to Ireland in the 1970s, it would be, or the 1980s, I was having lots of spiritual experiences in the garden because we lived in a rural area in Ireland, in Mayo. So lots of nature. And coming from South Africa, the weather was, the environment was very different. But I do remember connecting with angels and spirit and nature fairies. And I'd always be outside playing in nature and with nature fairies. And I'd always had my guides talking to me, and lots of memories of my guide in Native America. And so there's lots of other aspects going on with my experiences. Like I have a very deep connection to Lakota and Native America. And Black Elk is one of my main guides, who I call Many Moons, who I had a lifetime with. And yeah, I had memories as a child in Dublin when I was, I think, 8, I was younger than that, sorry, of having past lives in Dublin, and I'd be telling my mum what was around the corner and the road names and the buildings and who I was and my name and the places. And I couldn't read at the time, so she was aware that I couldn't read the road signs, and yet I was accurate in relaying that information. And she never knew what to make of me.
You mentioned something right there. You mentioned that, Ireland is full of folklore about fairies and little people and things like that. Did you have any experiences with fairies? Because most people out there say, yeah, sure, that is something about thousands of years ago. They made this up and it became kind of like a thing people talk about. No, they're real, because I have seen an autopsy of a fairy that looked like a human being with wings on it, about that long. There was pictures and movie footage of it. So they are real. Did you have any experiences with anything like that?
I did. I had very real experiences with them. And what the question you're asking is really interesting, because because what has happened at the downfall of Atlantis, our awareness was lowered. So there are lots of beings that have gone back to being on a higher dimension, not just fairies and elves and spirit guides and dragons and giants and Sasquatch. And so they've all moved up to a higher dimension, whereas so we've lost the ability to communicate, to see, experience not just fairies and elves and nature, which are nature spirits and tree spirits. So we've really severed our connection has been severed deliberately by I believe by negative ET beings that came in and overthrew Atlantis.
Yeah. Did you know that Ireland was the northern tip of Atlantis?
Yes, I did.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, this island it's called the Emerald Isle, and which is relevant to Atlantis as well, with the emerald temples and the emerald crystals. So
you also excuse me, but you also mentioned the Sphinx. Did you know that they were actually, in the very beginning, they were built 2 sphinxes next to each other? Did you see that in the Akashic record? Because it is there. It was there until about 35,000 years ago. And nobody talk about this yet. I don't think anybody knows, but it will come out. It will come out because they will find it. There were two sphinxes next to each other, east of the pyramids.
Yeah, I have been shown that, and yeah, I mean, our whole history is a complete lie. You know, we've been given bits of truth mixed in with complete lies, and a lot of our history is hidden and rewritten. The Bible being a prime example, where the very opposite is true. And I've been given a lot of information about Egypt and the Sphinx and Jesus, because I also had an experience with him when I was 12. And I do believe to my core that he is Pleiadian.
Yes, I am also. Because of the way he looked totally out of place in the Middle East. And there's a letter from Pontius Pilatus that was written to the emperor, where he explained what he looked like. And that coincides exactly with an appendix to the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I know I researched this, and one of my books I talk about it too. He was, according to the old writings, he was tall, strong, and he had, his hair was as you see, they didn't call the colors like we do now. They call it something that related to something, like they said the eyes were as the midday sky, which was blue, and the hair was as the ripe field of grain. That's how it was written. And that meant blonde. He was not a Jew. And what have you found? What have you heard in addition to that? I want to hear this.
Well, my understanding of Jesus is that he is Pleiadian, and that his father was, so he would be a hybrid, I guess, but of a very high level, because there are different levels within everything. There is, including star seeds, and different levels of spirit guides, different levels of everything. So I feel that he was at a very high level of what you would call a hybrid. And I believe his father was Pleiadian, and his mum was human, and that he was more created. More created. I don't believe that in the that Mary wasn't. I don't believe in the current story in the Bible, but I do believe that he came in to bring in an awakening of the consciousness, which we are re-experiencing again, of his return. It's not his return, it's the return of a higher level of consciousness, which is very much to do with love. And the Pleiadians always come in with a very strong sense of love.
Yeah.
And that is how I'm able to determine, one of the ways I determine that it's them is their undeniable sense of love and expansion that is just off the scale. It's love times 1,000 with them, which is the energy that he would have carried, and such a divine, beautiful being of love and consciousness, and I believe that we are kind of re-experiencing the past, and we get to change the outcome
Yeah.
And it's connected to timelines and different dimensions, because everything is actually happening now. It's not, time's not linear. So there's many different aspects going on with our current situation, you know.
Absolutely. And when it comes to time not being linear, it is only the perception of it here in the physical that is linear. Outside of there, we have access to past, present, and even the future. If we have thought of something in the future, it is placed into the quantum field because of there's a concept that's called the theory of inflation. So it's sitting over in the quantum field, and when the more we think about it, the more we start drawing it into our existence. So yeah, and also when it comes to the miracles that we hear of, many of them I have no problem with, because when you reach a level of something that is called city consciousness, that means when you are all consciousness, you only use the body for ease of communication. There are people that have done that, gotten there. And then when they said that he walked on water, yeah, most people, pretty much everybody, they laugh at that. Sure, well, you walk on water, but I have no problem with that, because when you control your environment, that means all of environment. The virgin birth, I have no problem with that either, because the records show that her father, what we call her father, was not around. He was away for several years working on a project during the time when she supposed to have gotten pregnant. So I have no problem with that either, because with higher technology, we have the technology to do that now. Artificial insemination and so on. Yeah, it can be done.
I don't disagree with you, Aage. I think that what happened, or a possibility of what happened, is that she was artificially inseminated, or that she had a sexual relationship with Pleiadian being, and he was created.
Yeah.
Um,
Or taken onto a ship, and then they have their
yes,
technology.
yeah, and I do. I think that's where it happened. I think she was taken on board. And there have been thousands upon thousands of women that have reported situations where they've been taken up on ship, and I've had it myself. I've been taken on ship several times,
Yep.
and been inseminated and become pregnant, and then the baby just disappears.
Yeah, 3 months later, they're not pregnant anymore.
Yeah.
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 But that's, when you start reading stuff outside of the Bible, then the stuff in the Bible start making sense. We can make sense out of it then, because the Bible don't explain why, how, and so on. They said this is the way it is, yeah, and then with present day technology, that is laughable. But when we look at what is possible outside of the Bible, it comes into place.
Yeah. And the Bible has been so reincarnation has been taken out of the Bible, and the Bible's been rewritten several times, and deliberately changed and manipulated to lead us into certain belief systems that are false. But there is a lot of truth in the Bible as well, but manipulated. So our history is very different to what we've been shown and led to believe. Excuse me. And so one of the things they did say when I first began to channel So when I first began to channel, they showed up behind me. And I'd been doing mediumship for a lot as a child for a long number of years. So I could see them in the same way I saw spirit. And Ashtar actually turned up directly behind me. And then there were other Pleiadians behind him, kind of going out in rows. And there was just thousands of them. And one of the first things they said to me, and I can still quote it word for word, is that okay, hold on. Sorry, they're also talking to me now. So sometimes I say, sorry, hold on, so that they'll show me a message again, and I'll share that in a minute. But one of the first things they said to me was, we are the gods, and the word God in the Bible should be replaced with the word gods. And then things would start to make much more sense. And that's a direct quote from them. And they never saw themselves as gods, but we misinterpreted them as gods. And there's another experience I had when I was 12, where I had such a traumatic childhood that I really wanted to leave my body. I really was done. Didn't want to be here. Didn't want to know anything. Didn't want to talk to anyone. Just wanted out. And I kind of believed, rightly so, that I knew how to do it. I knew how to just leave, because I'd been doing it for a number of years, of leaving my body and going into a higher dimension, a higher state of consciousness or awareness, which is unseen, because we're not able to see different dimensions so much, or the majority of people are not anyway. So I had this experience where I lay down in my bed. Actually, it was a mattress on the floor, but I was okay with that. And I was retching and crying and sobbing, and then I left my body. And because of the experience I had, I'll never forget the room, the layout where the door and the windows and the whole thing was laid out. And I went up to the corner of my ceiling, which was above the bedroom door, quite a small room, and connected with Jesus, who took me on a very long out-of-body experience. And I was gone for about 3 or 4 hours. I'd say more like 4 hours. And took me on a very long journey and showed me my soul mission, my path. And when he felt that I understood my journey and that what I needed to experience, then he showed me the part of the bigger picture for humanity. And when I came back, I was blissful, totally blissful, for about 3 or 4 weeks. And that bliss gradually ebbed away. And then I'll just add very quickly, after that, I was kept out of school by the Pleiadians deliberately, where they put that vortex of energy actually in front of me and around me, and stopped me from entering the school system. And they have since told me that they did that because I would have been lost to them. And again, that's a quote. So what I did instead was I would stay in my room from the age of 12 to 16 until I left home. And I would be reading books and meditating. I'd be reading all the esoteric books I could get from the local library.
Wow, what an education.
Yeah, I know. And I'd be downloading and transmissions and meditation. And I didn't know that's what it was called at the time. But I had kind of a fascinating childhood when I look back on it. So many experiences. And it's been progressive, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, what Jesus showed you, you said that he also showed you the bigger picture for mankind. What kind of interesting things would there be in that picture extending into the future for us? I'm all ears.
Yeah, me too. Well, he showed me some of our true history. He showed me a lot to do with consciousness and different dimensions, and that when none of us are really from here, and some of the history of the earth. I was shown a couple of one main thing that I'd never believed when I was shown it, was that dinosaurs walked at the same time as man. And I think I was shown that earlier on than that experience. But he showed me a lot to do with consciousness and how to raise it, I guess, through the love frequency, and how to kind of navigate my childhood, because I grew up in such a low environment that had the vast majority of people were not advanced, or not in a. So I grew up in London, in Hackney, which is similar to the Bronx. So that's the environment I grew up with. A lot of violence, a lot of negative energy, a lot of darkness, I guess. And I always felt out of place. I always felt like I didn't fit in, that I was different, that something wasn't right. Something was wrong here. I didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how I could be born into this, into my family, into the environment, into the toxicity. So he showed me kind of how to hold my energy, how to, I guess, center myself and protect myself and stay in a higher awareness, and to tap into the love frequency, to very much to protect myself. And
yeah, well, that is very important. And I see now we're at the bottom of the hour, and for those of you that joined us late, we are talking with Soma Arah. She is talking about her channelings by the Pleiadians, and also a little bit about the history, what she has observed in the Akashic records. And this is going to be interesting. In the middle of the show here, mention also where they can find your book, where you talk more about this. And or the two of them, actually. They are on Amazon, I suppose. How are they listed? Under what name are they listed over there?
Well, my birth name is Carol Noonan. So my first book is different sections. So it's a section of my childhood and how I came to channel the Pleiadians, and then it's a section of channeled writings that I was receiving at the time. So that is published under Carol Noonan on Amazon.
Okay.
And my second book is called What's Really Going On, which is to do with information that I received at the start of COVID and the lockdown in 2019. And that was banned on Amazon, wouldn't publish it. So it is on my website. And I think it's around €377. And my website is somaara.love.
So yeah, it's in the text below also, you'll find it there. And that is the Pleiadian child and what's really going on. And that could be some interesting reading. I also want to ask you, there are a lot of people, quite a few, that have had physical contact with entities and people from the Pleiades. They come in their ship, they land the ship, the door come open, and out they come, but they are physical people just like us. And then there are others that have met Pleiadians that are non-physical. They come in a form of spiritual appearance. What are they, both physical and etheric or spiritual beings in the Pleiades? Both, or is one of the spiritual being also take on a physical form, or how do they live out there?
I would say both. I would say that they are. So this seems to be very relevant with your question. So they have moved up into a higher dimension, and they are also able to. So certain starseeds are able to, or certain people or certain souls are able to connect into higher dimensions, to connect in with them.
Yeah.
But they are also, the Pleiadians and other star nations are also able to drop into our 3D awareness. So they are able to manifest physically, which they have done, including others like Sirius. So they do have, I've been shown that they have direct contact in a very physical way with Trump and Putin, in a very physical way. So they have direct communication.
Yeah, that's good, because I'm glad there are some adults in that room. Yeah, I know we, especially over in Europe, there is an adult in the middle of it, and his name is Putin. And he has been preventing, well, what we all were worried about, or most of us. But that is, you'd be surprised though. The Pleiadians are actually in some way involved in politics, because they guide from behind. This is my impression, and maybe you have a different slant on it. They guide from behind, they place thoughts in your mind and lead you onto paths that is more benevolent than the one that you otherwise might have gone on. Could that be close?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things they shared with me in the beginning was that took me 3-4 years to process. I really struggled with it, struggled with it. But they said that very clearly, and over and over and over again, that every system on Earth is run by reptilian or negative, I call it negative ET energy.
Yeah.
But reptilian, I guess for another word, but every system on Earth. And it took me a long time to process that, not just to hear the words, but to really fully embody that and process it and understand that governments and politicians and every system does not have our best interest at heart, and is actually a negative alien being at the top of the system, and that they do not have our best interests at heart. And therefore I kind of felt very alone within that, or isolated or disconnected from the different systems that I've never followed. I've never voted. But I think, I know Trump is an exception and has very direct contact with the Pleiadians, and that helps to keep him safe. That there's one of the reasons that he has not been taken out and assassinated. And there have been attempts, and there will be more attempts, I'm sure. But they also share many predictions with me to do with weather and things. But I've never voted. I've never been interested in politics until COVID, actually. And yeah.
Well, that's it gets deep when we get into that one, and a very dangerous era on the internet, because the gods, I mean the censors, they don't like us much when we talk about that. But I have another question, and that is that when we look at who we are and what we are here, what did they tell you? How were we as a race created? That's a deep one.
No, not well, it is, but I've been blessed, truly blessed, Aage, in the information they shared with me, especially since I didn't have any schooling. And they didn't want me to enter the school system because they said that I would be lost to them. So I did get, I actually did have a great education from them directly. And
you were sheltered and protected.
Very much. Yeah, even from abuse and trauma, although I did experience some of that, I was very protected. And you have to forgive me, I forgot what your question was.
Who created us? We have different races. We have a black, and then we have the white, and we call it the yellow race. I don't see them as yellow. They look just like me, but that's what it's called. Who created all of this?
There's so many different aspects that we could go into, but they have showed me that they created us in their likeness. And there were many beginnings. They always talk about the beginnings, but then there's a beginning, a previous beginning, and a previous beginning, and a previous beginning. So there's been different, I guess, awakenings and processes and new beginnings on Earth, and resets. There's been many resets, both by the positive and the negative. And one good example would be Tartaria, which would be a negative. But they've shown me that they created us in their likeness, and that the universe is teeming with life. So there are many star nations, or positive ETs and negative ETs, because everything has an opposite. That is a natural law. It's the yin and yang. Everything has an opposite on every dimension. So if you have angels, you have demons. If you have good, you have bad. If you have black, you have white. There's always a comparison. So they've showed me that they created us in their likeness, but they've also shown me that many other star nations, such as Sirius, and including reptilian and negative ETs, have created beings, and many live on different planets, different stars, systems, different, the universe is teeming with life. Which is becoming obvious now in our skies, and there are positive and negative things going, technology in our skies as we speak. And they also created some of the depictions you'll see in ancient art, or hieroglyphics, or stone, where you see images of, for example, a half man and a half horse. There were many experiments carried out, and some of them went very wrong. But they have some of the negative ET energies have continued to do that in places like Area 51, where they have created some horrendous things, and I have seen those, and I get very emotional when I see that, because it's so dark and evil, the things that some of the beings have created in the name of science.
That I want to comment on something here, because here in Tucson, I knew a lady that her father used to work for the Air Force in a very, very sensitive area. And she showed me a picture of an X-ray of a human being. It was pretty big, and that human being was laying on a table, but it had wings on it. That was something or someone that evidently was captured or found or something, and they took an X-ray on it, and that X-ray exists. And she is gone now, but I would love to get my hands on that one, because that would be something that the world needs to see. We call them angels. Well, if you look at the Bible, we find out angels never had wings. Now, cherubs did, and some of the thrones and others, they had wings. But that one in that X-ray picture had wings. What was that?
Well, that could have my feeling with that is that it was something that was, it was a being that was created.
Yeah.
And there have been many of those that are hidden. There's also been many so I was saying earlier, there's been many different, so there's been fairies, there's been elves, there's been dragons, there's been giants, there's been Sasquatch, which still comes in and out of a higher dimension. So and the fairies and elves and nature spirits still do that. The dragons don't do it. I believe the giants still do it. And some of the information recently I've had is that giants still exist on Earth, although hidden. They don't like to be seen. But I was told that they haven't been made extinct. And there are many discoveries coming over the next 1, 2, 3, consecutive years to come. Many discoveries of who we really are, where we came from, who created us, why we're here, in very physical ways. So there will be many skeletons of giants discovered. There will be discoveries of dragons. There will be discoveries of, because things were much larger, for example, trees and dragons and giants, and even the buildings, that were made for the giants, with the huge doors. And the Smithsonian Institute in America, it's reported that a lot of that they took out a lot of the giants in they took out the remains of the skeletal remains onto a ship or onto ships, and then buried them at sea so they wouldn't be found. But they've said recently that so much is going to come out over the next couple of years, predominantly, and they've showed me things like tunnels, and which I've actually seen since I was a child. I've seen tunnels and in all directions being used for various different things, some positive, some negative, but also caves and caverns and spaces. And they did show me a tunnel from the west coast of Ireland that goes all the way to America, and it's walkable. I don't know where it comes out in America, I'm not sure what state or area. And they've shown me the some of the recent events to do with the drones and the UFOs being reported.
There's a lot of things happening. I got another question for you, and that is, we are going through some strange times right now, and there is in my opinion, I think we are on a path to higher consciousness for everything on Earth. Some call it an ascension process. You talk about an ascension process. How does that show up in your mind? What's your understanding of it? What's going on there?
I'm so glad you asked me that. So they've shown me that it's connected, very connected, most importantly connected to Atlantis and what they term to me the Atlantis reversal. So at the time of Atlantis, we were living in a higher state of awareness, a higher state of being. We were healers. We spoke daily to star nations such as Pleiadians. We were healers. We were very much operating on a daily basis in a higher state of awareness, a higher consciousness, which you could say was or is the level that Jesus was at. So we were operating at a higher level. And what happened is that negative ET energy observed the Earth for a while and could see the Atlanteans. And it took this was over a number of years where they were planning to invade. And over a number of years, they gradually they concocted this plan that is probably so well planned that it includes the time we're in now. So this plan that they created was thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And at the time of the downfall of Atlantis, the negative ET energy came in and overthrew Atlantis gradually, which was part of Ireland, and other parts of the earth as well. And then they lowered our DNA. They manipulated, they changed it, they dumbed it down. So we lost our higher abilities of telepathy, of healing, of channeling. We were all channelers. They changed our DNA, they changed our blood, and we began to lose our memory. We began to lose our connection to the earth. We began to lose our connection to each other. We began to lose our connection to our families and our children, and we lost our memories because our DNA was changed. So, which is, everything is relevant to now, because, and also that the DNA, it's like a coil. If you imagine a coil that has been pulled to its limit, and now the time we're in, it's releasing. So the coil is the DNA, and it's going back to its original blueprint of 13 strands, not 12. And it's not even doing that. It's jumping back to a timeline of 13 strands and then shooting forward to an even higher timeline. And that can be said the same with consciousness. So it's very relevant to now, because what's happening now is we made mistakes in the past. And I know I've been shown that I had a lifetime in Atlantis where I did make mistakes, because I had we were very influenced in Atlantis by these negative ET energies who led us down a wrong path, and we were lied to and made to believe certain things that weren't true. So we made bad choices, and now we're on a timeline of correcting what happened in Atlantis, which is to do with Jesus and the level of consciousness. And we've been given another chance to rectify the past mistakes that we made. And that is what we're doing. We're jumping back and then jumping forward into a higher state of awareness, a higher state of being, a higher state of consciousness, a higher dimension. And we are rectifying the mistakes we made in the past in Atlantis, because we were lied to and led down a false path.
Yeah.
And now we get to change that. We get to rectify and move into a higher love frequency, a higher dimension, which is what Jesus, who is an important aspect, came to show us, that we can do miracles, or what are seen as miracles, like walking on water, like telepathy, like healing, and that we are not from here. We are part of a universe, and the great awakening of humanity is not limited to Earth. It includes the beings like the Pleiades. It includes Sirius. It's the whole universe is expanding.
Yeah. And when it comes to the, I have a definition, I don't know if it's the right one or not, but a miracle is something that, a happening that is based on a science we do not understand yet.
Yeah, it really is, Aage. Oh,
Yeah.
And
No.
our science, we've been lied to on such a mass scale about science, about history, about astrology, about money, about politics, about just everything. Our Earth, who we are, why we're here, where we're from.
Yeah. But I got another question for you, and we're getting down to the end of the show here, but what is our mission on Earth? You know, the old concept that the one who dies with most toys wins. That doesn't count anymore, does it?
No, it never did. It never did. That
Yeah.
was a false program that has been put into our humanity to so that we don't focus. We're so caught up in survival and 9 to 5 and working to pay the bills that we are not, that keeps us in a trap of that treadmill, you know, and fear and anxiety and pressure and stress to put food on the table, to be successful, or to be seen as successful, to have a to have money, and that is the path to follow. That is a false program that takes us away from spirituality, of really who we are and why we're here. We were never put on this earth to work 9 to 5 to pay bills. And actually, when you look and into it more, and you become more aware, and as you go into because awakening is a process. It's a process of waking up to different things. And one of the things, one of the situations is money, and how money is printable, and therefore the only reason we are taxed is to keep us working.
Yeah.
To keep us working, because money is printable. So therefore, there's no lack of money. There's no reason on earth for poverty to exist. And I'm especially extreme poverty in areas in the past, like Ethiopia and third world countries. There's no need for that.
No, there's not. So we kind of summarized that up to that our mission here, or kind of like our mission on Earth, is to learn and grow to attain higher consciousness, and to be able to join in with the spiritual family after we drop the body. Am I close?
Exactly. I would have worded it differently. But yes, so we're here now. Specifically, we chose this time period to be here, and it's only the strongest of the strong, which is a very common phrase, and the chosen, or we were chosen, or we chose ourselves. I kind of don't like those words, but we chose to be here at this time, specifically this time, not just on earth, you know, as a soul over many lifetimes, but And there's so many other things I could go into, but we are here for this ascension process to rectify the mistakes we made in the past, to create a timeline, a better timeline, a new beginning, because it affects everything within the universe. So I've always seen a positive outcome. I do see that it's an expansion of consciousness itself. It's an expansion of what some people would call God. It's an expansion of everything, dimensions, timelines, consciousness, awareness, abilities. And I do see us moving forward and going into a crystalline human being where we are growing, we are changing, we are adapting. Our DNA is changing. We're going back to 13 strands and then moving forward beyond that. They've also showed me recently some information to do with DNA codes, specifically for star seeds, but they've also said that they will be sharing more with me as I go on my own journey of awakening and process and developing and downloading and transmitting and transmissions.
Yeah. And I think the so-called ascension process, we are right in the middle of it, is going to expand in the next few weeks, not years, but weeks, because there is things coming down the pike. And if that fake alien invasion happened, no, it is fake. It's not the real thing, so it will fail. And I have my own contact, and it will fail, but it will be very interesting in the process of failing. So I think we're down to the end of the show, but gosh, let us know where they can get your books again.
Thank you, Aage. My website is somaara.love. My first book is The Pleiadian Child by Carol Noonan, which is my birth name. My second book, which was banned on Amazon, is available on my website. And that is called What's Really Going On. I also have some workshops coming up starting on the 12th of January, which are very affordable for $13.77, and they are weekly. So I go in depth into various subjects and also channeling and teaching and meditation and really connecting people with or helping to connect people with the Pleiadians, helping to bridge that gap. So that begins on the 12th of January and it's €13.77, which is, I wanted to make it very affordable for people. I didn't want to really price it any higher than that. And it's a weekly, and it begins on the 12th of January and ends on the 4th of May.
Okay, sounds good. All right, well, thank you very much for being with us. And I think, yeah, we are down to the end here. So for all of you watching out there, until next time, be good to each other.